Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the semi-finals of the UKLC. I'm Scoundrel, joined by the ever-frequent Orcs. I feel like he's done almost every single broadcast that we've had. Yes, I feel like he's been in every single broadcast that we've had so far. This is going to be a really, really good day. Obviously, if those of you guys have followed the UK scene for quite some time, you'll see some very familiar faces, but also some faces that you might not have expected to see at the top four of the UKLC. Let's kick things off with the schedule that we've got today, because we have two matches coming your way. We have BTXL taking on NVISION, and then we have Barrage going up against Fnatic in two best of threes to decide who will go through to those finals at the following weekend. And obviously the winners get both the European Masters slot, but also a chance to be crowned the UKLC champions. Dan, where do we even begin with this? I guess we start with the first match of the day, BTXL versus NVISION. Probably the matchup we were expecting, given the placements and XL's choice. So what are your thoughts coming into this particular matchup?
So for me, I feel like this is obviously XL favored. XL have gone the split 14-0, really strong performance. They had the same roster as last season, where although they weren't able to beat out Fnatic Rising, they had a good run at EU Masters, and the only change they made was Deadly into the AD carry role, which I think was just not necessarily a flat upgrade in terms of player standings, but in terms of how he's fit in with the team, a definite upgrade for them. They've been allocating resources onto him heavily, and I think the whole team has really sort of refined how they want to play. Now, that has led them to have they've 2-0'd everyone, but obviously a 2-0 advantage against NVISION. NVISION's first match against XL, to be honest, both matches were pretty close. There was definitely fight in there, but XL just offered a bit more. I think the critical aspects were decisive shot calling, particularly in the later stages of the game, really crowned XL and pulled them ahead. And also it felt like a lot of their resource allocation, so their lane assignments was quite strong. On top of that, there were certain times where Yusa would fall far behind in farm and Deadly would pull ahead, and that was obviously an issue later on. I feel like this NVISION roster, obviously coming into the split, tons of potential, we had a lot of optimism for them. It's taken them a lot of time to get the sort of point where we expected to see them. I think obviously this late in the split, this is what we can expect from them. They have started to come online. They've started to have a clear idea of what they want to draft, how they want to play things, but they still haven't taken a game of XL. And it's a big ask going into this best of three, but I definitely think if they're all playing at their peak, there's definitely a possibility to sort of take this series.
Okay, well, let's frame it in that respect then, because obviously I think most people come into this thinking XL are the clear favorites. They're undefeated throughout the entire season. They're looking to go undefeated throughout the entire UKLC, including playoffs. What can NVISION do to actually take a game and potentially the series from XL here?
I think some critical aspects of beating XL before on is objective contention, like particularly around Heralds, around Dragons. NVISION have actually found success there, even in, full 5-on-5 team fights. And that can definitely get to the point where you're comfortable going later in the game. If they sort of shore up their issues with this sort of decisive shot calling later on, and critically having scaling elements to their composition, I think their second match against XL, it came a point where if they didn't have a strong accelerating curve throughout the game, they would just be unable to beat them after a certain timer. Things like the Ornn and the Misfortune just became impossible to deal with, and the LeBlanc just wasn't able to pull their weight. So I think coming out of the draft, I want to see a draft where NVISION don't just fall off a cliff at some point, because XL are great at exploiting that. You saw that when they played against Fnatic, knowing exactly when their composition is stronger and to push that advantage. So they need to have a strong curve throughout the game. They need to contest them on these neutral objectives, find favorable fights, and potentially garner an advantage from that. They can also look to potentially punish bot lane. We've seen Deadly, when he's set behind, can sort of put a big halt in the plans for XL. That was something Fnatic were able to achieve. But it comes down to what necessarily NVISION want to look towards, because mid has also been a very viable win condition for them. Adept has been monstrous so far this split for them. So there's a few options. I think ultimately it's just looking at what XL have struggled on, because they haven't been infallible despite the scoreline. They've had close games, nearly got beaten by M&M as well. And I think the big aspect with M&M was that M&M had the scaling advantage in their composition. It got to a point where M&M said, right, now we win. And it came down to a really clutch backdoor for XL actually to close that one out. So
yeah, I feel like I've seen a bit of that from a couple of times from XL this split. They just somehow clutch a win when they really shouldn't be able to. But, they went undefeated for a reason. They've got great late game decision making. Now, I'm going to jump into the draft because I believe the teams are ready. Let's get this best of three on the road. I think the draft is going to tell us a lot. I do think XL have kind of suffered sometimes when, for instance, Special is on those types of picks like LeBlanc, where they don't sometimes execute the mid game the way that they want to, and then they end up in the late game where Sendo has to like bail them out with some ridiculous backdoor like we saw versus Eminem. That's something that maybe, you know, NVISION can give themselves if they've got that late game scaling aspect like Eminem did, that could sort of pull XL apart at the seams. Let's see what they go through for in the draft. Well, the special will not be getting LeBlanc. It's banned away from him.
Yeah, and I think that's a big one. It sort of tells what Adept could potentially be playing for himself. They're actually heavily targeting the pool off special right now, and it's potentially giving Adept a good matchup he can look to punish. The Aurelia has been a massive pick for him, and it's kind of disabled a lot in how effective he can be up against a LeBlanc and a Ziggs. So strength in that sort of aspect, it could allow a good matchup. Whereas on the side of XL, they're just banning away power picks, the Senna, the Ornn, very typical red side bans that would expect to see from them. And something they have banned their most recent game on patch 10.5 on red side. This is the same bans. They actually banned Yuumi as a third, so potentially could see that if they're going in a similar direction, although NVISION haven't been the biggest proponents of that champion.
Yeah, it's not really, I would never really consider Yuumi like a Prosfair staple. I think he's more of an aggressive support player, playmaker, likes to roam, likes to be more active on the map. And Yuumi not particularly good at that kind of support play. It's going to be an immediate lock-in of Aphelios for Yusa here. So we've seen Aphelios, we saw it in the Nordics yesterday in the hand of Denvoxne. He absolutely crushed on it, and it seems like NVISION want to take that same priority with the AD carry.
Yeah, and there's a bit of pressure potentially for XL to take a mid laner for special. Zoe stands out to me as something he's quite proficient on, and also obviously with the targeted bans already, if you leave that pick to the second rotation, you might struggle. First up, they'll take the set for Sendo. This is one of his most played, had strong performances, and obviously delivers in team fights. Can be a big threat to that Aphelios later on. But I wonder if we will see the Zoe now. They might leave it till that third pick, but it could potentially allow AD carries to get pinched. So looks like they may prioritize the AD carry pool right now if they go for that Calista. And speaking of which, this is a flex, set is a flex. There's a lot of flexibility if they do lock this in already for the side of BTXL. There's no clear indicator where these champions are going, which I think is a big strength. If you take the Aurelia for Adept in the mid lane, you might just face up into the set, which is a fine matchup for specials. So interesting red side rotation for BTXL, but it's worked pretty effectively. Now for NVISION, I expect like a Gragas Nautilus is what we've typically seen from them. But they're actually going to prioritize the Aatrox, but they will still take that Gragas, which has been a big jungler for Nulti, and I think just a very consistent one, has that AD pressure, scales pretty well, and the Aatrox set matchup is something we've seen so much so far this season.
Yeah, well, I think one of the sort of the criticisms of Nulti has been, if you pinch his champion pool, does he start to struggle, you know, outside of his big three, Olaf, Gragas, and, you know, Elise. But he gets Gragas. This is something he's super comfortable on. He's very, very happy to do so. It looks like XL are just going to respond with Sejuani. We know how much Taxa plays Sejuani. We know how proficient he is on this. We've seen him through European Masters gone by, playing this champion to death. So Taxa very comfortable here.
Yeah, your sewer ban comes out, just stopping that from working in tandem with the Gragas, especially with all the mid bans away from special could be a bit tricky. I like the Sejuani pickup because the set and the Calista are very flexible, but jungle's a role that, I mean, maybe a set jungle in theory, but it's the role I don't really expect to see them played into. Top mid support set a lot more likely. And this makes bans a little bit difficult. They're going to get rid of that Thresh just to stop it from pairing up with the Calista. But there's definitely still a lot of flexibility for BTXL, which means you could end up just wasting bans, but you want to try and taper things out. And second melee mid laner banned here with the Aurelia, again, picks Adept is really heavily leaning towards. There's still the Lucian, there's still the Tristana. And with the Gragas in the jungle critically, that means they have a source of AP. So they're not going to be lacking that damage if he does go for the Tristana or the Lucian. But now XL to pick up, will get revealed some information about these flexes. It could just be the blind mid, but you could leave that till a counter later. It sort of depends what XL would prioritize, and looks like they're just going to take the Nautilus in this situation. It's something that NVISION has put a lot of priority on. They didn't take it in the first rotation, but it gives them a position to potentially answer that one.
Yeah, I think Kasing, I've seen him play on his stream a huge amount. He's obviously a big Nautilus player. I think Kasing's had a really good split as well. I think he just feels comfortable with Deadly in the bot lane. There has been criticisms of Kasing, you know, such a high profile player, spent the last year in the UKLC over the LEC. I definitely felt like he'd lost a bit of motivation, coming into the sort of the lower tier XL roster. But this split, I think with Deadly, he's really performed well. And I think it probably feeds into how well the shot calling has gone from XL in the late game as well with all that experience. I definitely think this is one of the best splits that we've seen from Kasing in the UKLC specifically. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing him continue to grow. I think Deadly is a great partner for him in that bot lane.
Yeah, they've been playing together quite a while, even though they haven't been in a team together for a long time. They've been during for years, so definitely had that relationship beforehand. We're going to see the Victor for Adept. It's a bit of an interesting one. Not seen this too much recently. It has had some resurgences with different build paths. Obviously, now when you upgrade your W, it doesn't sort of almost pull them in on the gravity field. It gives a slow to all your non-periodic abilities. So you end up forgoing that Ryalize that we typically saw before. Going to be interested to see what the answer is from XL, and they're just going to go for the Corki. So solid backline, and both these teams have rounded out into a situation where they have a solid backline carries coupled with some strong team fighters on the front line.
And I don't think either of these teams fall off hugely in the late game either, because you've got Aphelios and Victor scales incredibly well. Corki is a really, really high scaling, carry. I would say that the scaling leans towards NVISION in general, just because of how powerful their late game carries are. But I mean, XL are not going to fall off a cliff either. They definitely have a lot of late game pick potential, but actually damage coming from special could be pretty big as well.
Yeah, I think on top of that, the mid game is pretty big spikes for BTXL, because that's where Callisto really hits that peak. Corki has strong spikes a lot of stages, so he'll be relevant then. And then at that point, Sendo and Taxa really will feel a little bit hard to kill for the side of NVISION. Obviously, later on, I think that the likes of Adept and Yuso will really start to put a lot of damage down. So I think mid-game XL will definitely have a bit of an edge in their composition, but later on, NVISION start to pull that back. But I don't think it's clear-cut for either side. I think both teams gone for, I'll say, a little bit of safe draft. There's nothing too hard to execute here. It's essentially both compositions want to just play that front to back, and it'll largely come down to where the junglers can sort of find that early pressure for themselves.
Well, let's talk about that specifically then. Nulty, who has had questions raised about him, probably called the weak link of NVISION. I don't think that's unfair to say. I think obviously the bot lane has been questioned a little bit as well throughout this split, but Nulty as well has been some questions raised. Where do we want to see Nulty apply pressure? And then conversely, where do we want to see Taxa apply pressure?
So I think potentially it's going to be a little bit fluid right now. I think mid lane should be essentially an island. I don't expect to see too much pressure applied there. Sejuani doesn't synergize super well with the Corki, and if you just try and dash in and apply that stun, Victor will just kite you out. So it's either going to be top lane or bot lane. I think there is setup to snowball either of these matchups. Top lane in particular is an even matchup, so I feel like it's better off seeing Nulty spend his time there. But I think Taxa going bot lane is what we typically expect from him, and also what will give him a massive benefit, because the Callisto can snowball extremely hard, especially against an immobile AD carry like the Aphelios. Yeah,
I think Deadly has been, this is interesting though for Deadly, because I've always seen Deadly on like a hyper farm, get all the experience, solo lane carry. We'll talk about it in just a moment, because we are on to Summoner's Rift now. We are jumping into this first game between BTXL and NVISION. And I want to draw this point back to Deadly. Deadly's on a champion that is a little bit more mid-game oriented. It is no longer about just funnel farm and experience onto him. How do you see this going for Deadly? How does his role change, and how will his playstyle have to change coming onto this Callisto?
I think it's okay, because I think you can still team fight well with Callisto in the later stages. Obviously, it's not like the Misfortune, but the critical thing is it's still a lane bully. It's still something you can very much play around and sort of find success on in the early stages. And that is a critical thing, I feel, because playing around bot lane in particular is something that XL have done since last year. So not too many surprises there. It just means that Taxa does need to sort of find an avenue where they can look to play aggressive and punish that matchup in particular. And it can be something that really falls apart, because Yusa and Prosper playing a Leona who doesn't have any sort of get outs in terms of compared to say a Nautilus or a Thresh. Thresh can stand back with a Lantern. Nautilus can use his hook to actually pull himself away. But if Leona goes in, she's in. That's sort of like, you can try and hobble out, but it's going to be very difficult to do against the likes of the Callisto. So can make things difficult.
Well, we'll keep an eye on where these junglers are starting, both top side of the map here, so we're expecting just a rotate down to bot, and then maybe it will be a bot focus here for both Nolty and Taxa. That maybe looks like where we're going to see these guys put their pressure down. I'm interested to talk about this Sendo-Shikari matchup. Sendo has been a player from XL who has been continuously very impressive, I would say. I think this has probably been a little bit alongside Kasing, his most impressive split in the UKLC for quite some time. You know,
yeah,
feel free to talk about it, but I think Shikari versus Sendo is a really interesting matchup to look at.
I think historically, Shikari into Sendo has been Sendo trying to overforce and Shikari just cleaning up because Shikari has been somewhat of a brick wall in the top lane. This has changed the split. Sendo has been a really consistent performer. Yes, there's been a couple of mistakes here and there, but for the most part, he has vastly improved. And I think that's been a critical thing for XL, is that their bot side has been pretty formidable for quite some time. Obviously, last split, I feel like they were struggling a little bit in the mid lane until they brought Special in. But for the most part, it has been the top side of the map that's been a little bit precarious. And I think Taxa's been a lot better, Sender's been a lot better. The critical thing with Taxa is he's not always ganking super hard. A lot of the time he's showing his presence and he's facilitating his lanes by doing things like allowing them to shove in to be in a safer position in the laning phase. And right now, you can see wave management is a really important factor. Yusa and Prosper pushing up means that Nolty has to be bot side, because if you're in this position and Taxa shows up, you don't have the jungle coverage, your immobile AD carry just will die.
Yeah, they did get eyes on Taxa around his Gromp that Scryer's Bloom was used. Taxa's now going to rotate up to the top side, River Scuttler. So they're just going to trade top for bot River Scuttler in this situation. No major kind of early ganks coming up from either Taxa or Nolty here. But you said, you know, you were right. Yusa and Prosper have pushed up pretty heavily, and Deadly and Kasing have done a good job of just keeping that lane in an awkward position for Yusa and Prosper, because they have to constantly be on their toes right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be cautious. You have to be tracking the jungler and have a good awareness. But there's some coverage. They have the Scuttle Crab down, which is going to help them to a degree, but not really in a position they can step up right now. And I expect this early game to be a little bit slower, because obviously there's no huge sort of pressure on either team to make these crazy plays. We often see things picked up like the Lee Sin, LeBlanc in the mid jungle. And there, obviously, there's a lot more of an onus to sort of find those advantages and translate them elsewhere. But here, there's not so much pressure right now. But Nolty, again, showing his face bot, clearing out some vision. But that does mean topside a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah, Taxa's looking for it as Shikari now is going toe-to-toe with Sendo, though Sendo just unable to capitalize. He does get dragged back in and is unable to find that gank can happen.
But it's a difficult wave position, because if we look towards the top side, then even so, it's just rough for Shikari, because he now has to try and push up to contest this wave. It will actually push now towards him, so he'll be able to catch it. But that's a sort of precarious situation. When a wave is away from you or your tower and you have to overextend to contest it, you're very vulnerable for ganks. So we're seeing on the bot side, things transition a bit. Deadly and Kasing bouncing the wave, pushing it in. And this means they're now the ones who are in the precarious position. They're the ones who could look to be vulnerable, but Taxa moves down, paths towards them, and that allows them to go for this safety. So it's a pretty critical thing, and I think Nolty and Taxa both shown a lot of proficiency for playing around this on the map. Not so much just, oh, I want to go this lane because I want to gank it. It's covering your lanes, allowing them to shove in, and working with the waves that have sort of been dealt to them.
Yeah, neither jungler have found a particularly good pathed wave, though, unfortunately. Obviously, Nolty going down to the bot side of the map when it was all the way shoved in towards Kasing and Deadly, and then obviously the counteract is his Taxa went down when it was shoved in towards Prosper and Yusa. So neither jungler having an exactly full open attempt at a gank here.
Yeah, it's just covering. It's just covering for your own laners. I think that's the critical thing here. It's not the aggressive play where it's not like the Sybil that we see from Braj, where he wants to force, he wants to find these ganks. Taxa and Nolty are like, we want our laners to be safe. We want to get to the point where they feel strong enough, and then we can say, okay, we're ready to go. We've hit our spikes. We can sort of facilitate this.
Good back, though, from Deadly and Kasing, because that wave did not get shoved into turret, and Deadly's just going to come back with those tier 2 boots. A nice little spike for Kalista, going to increase that jump distance, makes it a little more difficult to catch her out. And they won't lose too much to the turret either.
They were trying to shove it in there as well, Yusa and Prosper, to match that recall, but it's actually been caught in front of the tower. They're overstaying pretty heavily. Now, it's not actually too much of an issue because Kasing and Taxa are now on this dragon, but Yusa hasn't recalled in a long time. He's at 55 CS, still hasn't gone for a back. a little bit rough timing, and this means they can't contest this dragon. They are just not strong enough to go for this when Deadly's so far ahead in terms of items. And the end result is an early dragon pickup for XL.
Yeah, unfortunately, just some unfortunate back timings and not able to shove the wave in enough, like you said, and has resulted in the first dragon going over essentially free for XL as well. Nulty maybe looking to go for a cheeky barrel steal, but just wasn't in position. And it's been a very quiet early game. You wouldn't expect anything less of these teams, though. They are, I would say, you know, moderately evenly matched. I would say XL's probably the favorite coming in, but I think NVISION on the current form they've been in is definitely nothing to be sniffed at when it comes into this matchup. It's not exactly like it's going to be an auto win in this situation.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a close one with the draft coming out. I don't think either team is super pressured to make plays happen now. It's just sort of managing these things, finding advantages, picking up dragons and such. I think the neutral objectives will be a big telling point. Interest to see if we'll get a swap coming out soon. But right now, we see the Aphelios and the Leona in the bot lane. This thing is pathing towards the top side, though, and it looks like they're going for a heavy play round here to set up for this Herald. And the priority right now is taking away this blue. Adept, no mana, so going to be difficult to contest this one. Let's just hand it over to Special.
Yeah, and Sendo's just got such pressure in his lane that he's able to zone Shikari away from his own tower right now, because also Taxa being in that blue side jungle was threatening the dive. Nothing that Shikari can do here. This is a good little start for XL, just in pure lane pressure. But they only have that 100 gold lead to work with. It's nothing major at this point in time. And because things head back down towards the bot lane, so we're not going to see an early rotate out for the Rift Herald unless that is actually Taxa going for it by himself right now.
Yeah, and Shikari actually fallen really far behind in this matchup. Engage comes in.
He goes for the showstopper. Sendo's got a very big wave punching him through here, so he's not going to go too hard with this. He's just going to let it bounce back towards Shikari, although he's got to be careful. Nulty is on the bottom side of the map, so there's no way that Nulty's going to contest this. And they're actually going to give away the Rift Herald for free here. So XL are just sneaking global objectives away in this matchup, and it doesn't really feel like NVISION are in the place to respond for it.
I think there's just no way they could contest it, though. There's a very heavy lean came in from XL to crash that wave in. Shikari had to back off, otherwise he was under threat of being dived. Adept was in no place to contest. He had no TP, no mana, so he had to reset. And package was also picked up by Special, so the end result is a lot of things came together to apply this pressure. Seen Engage come in.
Yeah, the Special does manage to get away, with the package. Manages to get away.
The thing is, this does mean he's chunked out, and they potentially move this pressure towards the bot lane if they want to. But yeah, as I was saying, Shikari ends up paying the price for that pressure lent towards top lane, misses a lot of CS, actually loses a play over to Sendo, and because of that, because Shikari was so far away, another Engage coming in.
It's going to be the flash coming out Deadly straight away, starting to build up those stacks. Here comes Taxa with the big ultimate, and it hits. And they get the first blood onto Leona. Yusa is going to be the second to fall. This is a big, big win for XL. What a brilliant ultimate from Kasing 2 to get the double knock-up. This could be a triple for Deadly. It will be. That is an excellent bot lane skirmish for XL.
On the other side of the map, Adept nearly killing Special, but this means he could potentially be caught out here now by Sendo, and things would just get even worse if this was to happen.
Yeah, Adept does not have flash available. Sendo is going to be looking to hunt him down. I don't know if Sendo has already used that showstopper in that bot lane engage, but they're going to pop the Rift Herald immediately on the bottom side of the map, and this... I don't know if they're going to get the turret out of this, though. I think they're just going to take the plates.
I think they're happy with the place in this situation. They want to get the reset and be on the map again to contest that second dragon potentially. But just a really disastrous play overall from Vision. They're the ones who opted into that one, and yet they're the ones who come out so much further behind from that play. And it's the fact that despite them committing to it first, their TP was slightly later. Despite the fact that they go for that engage, you're up against the Callisto who is so strong in these early skirmishes. And I feel like it was just like a little bit of a naive play where they felt like top side had been a bit rough, and they opted to go for it, and they pay really heavily. But seeing an engage come in top.
Sendo's actually going to use that showstopper just to position himself back towards the tower. And he's going to remain very safe here. Nulty just unable to find too much impact, but what an excellent positional gang from Taxa in the bot lane. That's given him 4 assists as well, so he's set up really nicely in this game so far. And you talked about, I would almost argue at every stage until the game, until we get to about, what, like 25, 30 minutes, XL are probably stronger in skirmishes. They are stronger in, even just full out team fights like that. I think they just have these earlier spiking champions who do not need as many items to come online.
And I think critically as well, with this gold lead now, it really just puts NVISION all ready. And for this to happen so early, already in a position where they're looking towards the late game and going, right, how are we going to scale for this one? Obviously, there's still potential for them to contest, but it has to be away from this Kalista, because critically, the Kalista is super strong right now, looking to pick up this tower and should be able to get Blade of the Ruined King off that with the tier 2 boots as well. It's a massive spike. And on top of that, if you go into a fight, Kasing can engage freely. He has the Fate's Call to keep him safe, and it just makes skirmishing around this bot lane very hard. You get 610 gold put into the pocket of Deadly. They're now going to get the Dragon as well. It's just things looking really rough right now. And
that's a tilter. That's a tilt engage in the mid lane there from Nulty. It looks like they're trying to just keep themselves away. Like you said, keep yourself away from Deadly right now. They were maybe looking to apply pressure on the top side of the map. Just pressure Sendo out, try and take some plates, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be likely. The switch is coming through now. Kasing and Deadly are going to look to go back into that 2v2, take Yusa and Prosper on head-to-head, and it's not looking good in the first game of this series for NVISION. XL are firmly in control.
Yeah, to already be struggling this hard, not a sort of good spot to be in. And again, we talked about the scaling aspects of NVISION composition. It's not a situation where it's like, oh, they hit 30 minutes and it's game's over, we've won, we've scaled. Yeah. If XL still have a moderate gold lead, then they're still going to perform stronger. Corki doesn't fall off. Kalista, although she's not going to outscale Aphelios, still can be very, very relevant if she gets space. It's just looking rough so far. 4K, the goal difference, 2 dragons already in the pocket. And the big factor with that is we're going to see an Ocean Soul potentially forced at 23 minutes. Considering they have a Sejuani in a set, 2 champions who benefit massively from the healing that's going to make them so much harder to kill. It's rough. It's rough to see an out here for NVISION. Finding a poor fight on behalf of XL, it may be the way back in if Deadly overextends without summoners, but he has that cleanse available. It makes things a little bit trickier. Just finding the windows.
So, third dragon coming up in around 3.5 minutes. It really feels like it's later into the game. I don't know why. It feels like it's later than 14 minutes, maybe just because of how far XL sort of feel ahead at this point in time. They're going to put some pressure down in that blue side jungle. Getting that mid lane tower will probably be the priority off the back of this next Rift Herald. They are looking to threaten a dive onto Adept. They're just trying to potentially take some plates before they take that Rift Herald and then allow them to break this game open pretty easily, because Sendo and Tax are positioned there. They might not even need the Rift Herald to do it. Adept is just so scared of the dive potential from Taxa that they're going to get the mid lane tier 1 for free, and that is such a big objective to take, although I say that Prosper has turned back up and XL unable to convert it.
Instantly unloaded onto him, and I think Special's super scary right now on that Triforce spike. And I feel like even if he wasn't, it's the fact that everyone on XL is just so far ahead, you really can't contest. It was a reset timing for Nulty and Prosper, and that mid tower already being low. If they manage to crack that one, they have the Herald potentially threaten the top lane tower, but in all honesty, not sure they need it. Now, we've seen Engage coming bot.
Yeah, Sendo, unfortunately, not going to be able to escape that one.
It's a good
Showstoppers have been good so far, but not good enough there.
It's what we need, though, from NVISION. If they want to find a way back in this game, they can't contest, beat XL head on. Like I said, Deadly way too strong right now on that cluster. You need to find something across the map. Sendo is very much a strong target to look for. Now, looking mid.
Prosper was just trying away. Yeah, he was trying to threaten him, but unfortunately, Corki is Corki, and he's very, very safe in that mid lane. In a short lane like that, the Valkyrie comes in massively impactful. I think Shikari and Nulty are just going to take this bot lane tier 1. However, I feel like you just pop that Rift Herald in mid, and you can take the mid lane tier 1 for free. You can maybe even charge it.
You can take tier 2, in all honesty.
Yeah, exactly.
Go down in a heartbeat. I'm looking for you, sir.
And going for it, the flash comes out from Kasing, and he will pick up the kill onto Yusa.
Yeah, needed a flash to Sejuani. You have to expect the follow-up to come in, and a little bit naive to tank that one. End up losing the mid tower there, but the reset's going to come in. XL, Marks, you're going to commit for more in that situation, just taking the tier 1. But now that's all 3 tier 1s down. They have a 4,000 gold lead, 2 dragons with the next one spawning in a minute and a half. And that's a big reason why they don't throw down the Herald instantly. They can use it to apply pressure for the dragon. If they take that one, they are on soul point already at 17 minutes. It's been a very fast-paced game from XL, and it feels like you give them an inch and they take a mile. It's been the story so far here. That skirmish, the bot lane that, again, NVISION opted into has just cost them so much. But even before that, XL were finding small advantages, leaning pressure around the top side of the map, and it's paid off pretty massively. Well, NVISION potentially looking for a pick here on a Kasing. He's got no flash.
Yeah, Kasing, the Fate's Call is available though. That is what Kalista is good at. And they'll just dive deadly away. Taxa now going aggressive onto Nolte, who's forced to flash himself. I don't think Taxa has that ultimate available, so they will just back off here. Yeah, it was a good attempt, but Fate's Call, you know?
Yeah, that's a difficult thing. You're not really given a good option in that situation. I think the only way they potentially could have found it is if Nolte ulted Kalista way out of range, but the end result is, yes, they chunk Kissing out, yes, they buy some time, but there's still 30 seconds before that dragon spawns. He's going to be able to reset and come back. And right now, NVISION kind of running low on options. They don't have the ultimate from Gragas or the Victor anymore, so don't have those tools to utilize in this fight. Kinda just means I think they have to give this dragon up. I don't think you win a contest at all. So they're going to end up sacrificing this one and maybe look to contest the next one for the soul, but it's definitely not a good situation to be put in. When you're this far behind, you have to just take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're very right. Going for a dragon fight in this situation would be just certain death for NVISION. Probably just throws the game outright. I think you just have to say, what can we get in the next 5 minutes before the next soul spawns? What can we get for around a Baron fight? I mean, I even feel like NVISION might be in a situation where they have to say, do we even need to contest the soul? Is that game over for us? Can we play around something else? And I know it probably does feel pretty bad to give up the soul, but I really don't think they're going to be in any kind of position to contest them properly.
It depends what you can get for the soul, but I think if they just raw give over the soul, I really think the game just feels a bit doomed, because it makes it very easy for XL to move over to that Baron and just tank it forever. Sejuani will take no damage from it with the soul healing her up, and it just puts you in an awful spot where at any time the Baron could be started up. And remember, with the Kalista, there's always the threat of the Rens, so a steal isn't even probable. I think you have to fight at this dragon, and either you get this, you deny the soul, you get some gold back in your pockets, get some shutdowns from Special and Deadly, or you lose the fight, you lose the Baron, you lose the game. I think if you give it over, the game is just slowly going to trickle away until you've lost it. But maybe they try to go in a different direction. But now, though, XL looking to put pressure down in this mid-tier 2 with that Rift Herald. It won't kill it with that charge, but definitely chunk it out.
But yeah, they didn't really find a good opportunity to use it elsewhere, and NVISION are just into preventing that from going down. But it will get a lot of damage onto the tier 2, and that really feels like one solid minion wave push will end up taking that turret away from them. The rest of NVISION are just boxed out of their red side jungle right now. They really can't find any way to move in. And this is one of the benefits of taking the tier 1 in the mid lane. It just allows XL to be much more aggressive with their rotation and vision push into both blue and red side jungles of NVISION, and that boxes them further and further away, makes them take the long way around, can't really catch XL on rotations, and allows XL to get more and more of these objectives. That's kind of what you want when you're kind of accelerating a mid-game teamfight composition or mid-game composition. You just want to get that mid-lane tier 1 so you can start to push further and further into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, now that they've taken that tier 2 mid, it means they can just heavily lean towards the spot side, get complete vision control. NVISION are trying to contest and hold that last brush before their base, but not able to do much with it. And the critical thing, now that this mid-tier 2 is down, is you got to think of how far away the closest tower is from Baron. And right now it's that top tier 2, but it just means there's such a long distance to travel from the base of NVISION, from where you're protected by a tower, until you get to that Baron if you're trying to contest it. Right now, the Taxing potentially looking. I think Deadly's playing the bait game.
He is playing the bait game, and then immediately they will get the kill. Maybe even going to end up getting 2 here, because Shikari just do the damage as Kasing thrown back in with the Fate's Call. Shikari pops that ultimate. Will ward the rest of XL away. Look at Sendo. Has he got what it takes? Showstopper in the wrong direction, but he gets a good face breaker in, and suddenly here comes Special 2. Sendo tanking up as much as he can. He'll back off behind the turret as Special gets zoned further away. XL actually taking a pretty grim fight here. They don't actually get the turret from it either. They'll take that 1 kill and back off.
Yeah, a little bit messy. I feel like the full dive should have come in with Sendo ulting them close to his team. They finish the tower off. They go for the fight and win it off that, but they end up playing it a little bit weirdly. They don't really lose much in that one. They don't lose anything at all in terms of kills, but some summoners down, some pressure lost. Just a little bit of a mistake, but ultimately not going to cost too much for XL. But now it's a minute 45 from that dragon. It will be the soul for XL if they secure it. The question is going to be asked, are NVISION feeling like they're going to be able to contest this one? You can look at the item discrepancy right now. Triforce BF for the Corki. I think Special's waiting to recall to pick up an Infinity Edge. But you see Blade Rune King plus Runans plus QSS plus Hex Drinker for Deadly. And he has his Flash and his Cleanse. And I think right now he's just far and above, so much stronger than everyone else on the map. And yeah, Special's recalling. He's going to pick up that Infinity Edge. the discrepancy is just monumental at this point. And when looking at those items, I just don't see a clear win condition for NVISION in this one.
Yeah, 3,500 for Deadly and about 1,500 for Special in the mid lane. But Deadly is really just catapulting the majority of this gold lead on his back pocket. And that's actually something that Deadly has been kind of relied on for XL. Deadly has been that go-to AD carry. He's been the singular carry on the team. Sometimes when Special doesn't do enough, Deadly's the guy doing the work, and he's been such an asset for XL across this entire split. He has been one of the major win conditions for them and has been an excellent addition in the bot side of the map here. I mean, XL have classically always had strong AD carries. You know, you look back to the likes of Venza, for instance, but I think Deadly has been probably the strongest they've had on this roster, especially in tandem with Kasing.
Yeah, I mean, you can make arguments about sort of the peaks of other players like Inax potentially, but right now,
True.
I think in his current form, Deadly's the strongest when he was on the roster. I think obviously Inax, when he was playing XL, it was early days and he was carried by support. But ultimately, Deadly just sinks in so well. He loves getting the resource funnel onto him. It was a situation on Giants when he did make it to the finals of EU Masters and was the first seed in the SLO. And it plays really well around that here. Now, he's actually playing the interrupt role. He's feeling super confident. And the response from NVISION is to try and just give up the Dragon Soul and potentially try and start that Baron. But I think they've just opted out of it.
I think they know that they can't. They know they're too far behind. They may even end up giving up this bot lane inhibitor if they went for that Baron. Honestly, XL, just get that Dragon Soul for free.
Yeah, and it's really rough because maybe the rush on Baron would have ended up in you all dying, but at least it's something. Right now, it's just 6.5k gold behind. Enemy team just picked up the Ocean Soul, which I'll emphasize again, on champions like Set and Sejuani who are already tanky, they just become so much harder to kill as they're constantly healing up. And with the gold income from NVISION, Yusa can't afford to pick up an Executioner's Call in to mitigate that. Now, they might find... do an X-Smithy as he just dodges away on that one, but I mean, you don't have the income to afford, you know, a Mirella Nomicon, an Adept, or an Executioner's Calling on Yusa, so that healing is going to go unchallenged, and the end result is that front line of XL is just going to be nigh on unkillable at this point of the game, and Deadly's pumping out so much damage. It's just not a good spot to be in. At this point, they're going to assign lane pressure. They're going to have Special gun on the bot side of the map, shoving that wave in. And it's a matter of pushing in deep, establishing vision control in that blue side jungle from Vision, and XL just completely shutting them out of any Baron contest being possible. That's what they'll start to do here with the waves pushing in, and Nulty's hovering in the jungle, but they'll quickly force him out, and it just becomes so rough to try and walk through. I think they might be trying to go for a pick before that happens. But if XL play it slow, they'll be in a pretty good spot just to easily take this Baron. And I'm not even sure if NVISION are going to be able to contest it once they attain vision control. So now they're moving up as a unit to try and zone out because Special and Sendo are handling the bottom mid lane. But now someone from NVISION has to catch that. You see Yusuf picking it up in the mid lane. There's a wave bot that they're reacting to. And this is when XL just take control. This is when they're starting to move up, push in. Sendo is coming through, as you can see on your screen. And all that vision's been cleared out. And now Nulty is so far away from the Baron. If he gets started up, I mean, even if it doesn't get started up, it's just he has to walk such a long distance to try and face check to see if they're doing it. And there's very much potential he just gets bursted by the likes of VTXL.
Yeah, and there's so many summoners available. Even if they went into a 4 versus 3 on that top side of the map, I really think XL would actually just win.
I feel like, honestly, just Deadly and Kasing is probably enough just to beat all of NVISION at this point. He's so strong, and he has so many defenses as well with his core items. It's just a massive discrepancy. And right now, they're defending this tower on the top side. Critically, BTXL want to break this one because that really just furthers how much they can push. Because right now, Nulty being able to hide safely under this tower has a little bit of a shorter route to get the Baron. If that tier 2 top dies, they're just completely zoned out. So they'll move towards Baron. This is just really to bait out blue trinkets, I feel, because Adept has one available. So it's going to be spotted and they'll turn off. And it's just playing around the blue trinkets. They don't need to overcommit for this Baron because that's the only way they lose this game is a very bad Baron fight or potentially it gets stolen. But they're just going to return to it once again. Blue trinket comes down. You can just cycle this, but I think they're going to commit now with the Callisto Ren stacks. They are starting to move away. And again, it's just playing it cautiously. Not wanting to give any opportunities over to NVISION, but they call the bluff. They're going to try and finish it now.
Yeah, it's going to be the Fate's Call coming out here, trying to find some kind of pick. That is Prospect going into that Baron right in the middle. He is going to be focused down as the front line of Sendo just buys so much time for XL. Double kill for Deadly. He's going to go further in here as Special actually picks up the kill onto Nolty. And they should be able to turn and burn for this Baron. No way that NVISION can contest.
Yeah, very much a slow play. They knew they didn't have huge pressure. The tanks were able to soak damage from the Baron thanks to the Ocean Soul. And they just turn back and forth, back and forth. They get the fights they want. They get the pick. They get Baron. Really well executed by XL. Gold lead 10,000 now. They have the Baron. They have the Soul. It's just looking great for them.
They are definitely looking like champions here. BTXL have been unflinching this entire split. They are yet to lose a game in the UKLC. If they were to win this 2-0, they would go into the finals completely undefeated in the entirety of this split so far, and obviously securing themselves a European Master spot, which is going to be big for the organization. XL have always been in the shadow of Fnatic in both the UK and in the European Masters performances. It has all been about Fnatic rising, and it's very rarely been about XL. Is this finally the split where XL can say, no, it's about us for once?
Maybe. I mean, it's definitely the good start to one, but right now, 1-0 potentially looking likely. After this game, they still have a series. I expect to see NVISION try bounce back to that game too. Question is, can they find anything in this one? We're still a long way away from used to having relevant items. I think you need a big pick. I think you need someone from XL to make a mistake and overstep. That's kind of your way into the game.
I think you need that to happen like 6 times in a row.
We'll have Nolty steal the Elder Dragon, and then you win a team fight off the Elder Dragon strength.
And you kill Deadly, and Yusa gets the kill onto Deadly. That's the way.
Yeah. It's still a big ask, but there is still a possibility if XL make a big enough mistake. Right now, though, they're going to play things slow again, splitting up that Baron pressure into 3 lanes, pushing it up slowly. You can see NVISION trying to potentially threaten if someone steps up too far. Tax in particular, he could be in trouble, but he's just so tanky right now. He's got the stopwatch available to him. Deadly also picking up that stopwatch, has the mixed scimitar. You see 3 items coming in for Special, which is a huge bite for the Corki. Just across the board, this XL roster looking super strong. We do have a pause coming in, which I believe is from XL right now.
Yeah, we're just going to double check. Looks like someone crashed, so we're just going to sort of wait for them to get back into the game so we can get going again. Obviously, as we said before, this is classic XL. You give them something, you give them just a minimal amount, and they'll make you pay for it the rest of the game. And I really feel like you cannot afford to make any early game mistakes versus XL, because even if they aren't able to constantly find kills, they will utilize the fact that they are that much stronger. They will position on the map in a way that forces you into awkward scenarios, and they will just take things from you time and time again. You have to have like a perfect 15 minutes versus XL in order to come out even in the mid game and potentially find your avenue in. Definitely when XL are playing clean anyway. Obviously, we've seen versus M&M, XL are prone to sometimes playing a little bit derp, but
I think they're taking this very seriously. They know obviously you have to spot on the line. It's one best of 3 that decides if you go to that tournament. Best of 5 for the finals can get you that seed 1 spot, and also mean you are labeled best in the UK. But ultimately, they lose here, it's falling at the first hurdle. So a very controlled game, not really given any risks, I think is the critical thing. They got that lead, but a lot of it has been applying the sort of hidden pressure. It's not necessarily going for these kills, going for these picks. It has been a slow-paced game in that regard. It's 9-1 on the scoreline, but it just felt like so much of the map was just zoned away from NVISION. They couldn't really contest that. So many areas they couldn't step into, and it's just the consistent pressure being applied, good wave management as well. So it feels like even when NVISION are like, okay, we have 5 members, we're going to contest this Baron Vision, it's because XL have 2 members pushing waves, and then they have to pull back, answer those waves, and that's when XL take control. And it's very slow. They're not looking to step too far. We were joking earlier about, maybe Deadly and Kasing could 2v5 with how strong Deadly is right now, but they're not looking for it. They're not taking those risks. They don't want to give over those bounties. And I think it shows a very respectful team who don't want to give any opportunities to NVISION in this game. And with the lead they have right now, 10,000, well, almost 12,000 up, with the Baron in their pockets, with, as you can see, you can't see as the viewers, but they just have all of NVISION trapped in their base, and Elder is spawning in 15 seconds. It's just looking really rough right now for NVISION in this game 1.
Yeah, I think they're sugarcoating it by saying it looks rough. I think it's over. I think the game is think about what we can do to go next, because I just don't see many avenues for NVISION. You know, when you're talking about professional level play and you're saying, well, their way back in is if they get like 6 picks in a row, the shutdown gold goes onto user specifically. I'm not sure.
I think more than anything, there's still that late condition where if you stall the game out long enough, that there is an avenue back in the game. Right now, the base hasn't been broken. They haven't got Elder Dragon, which is the most powerful buff in the game. If they manage to steal Elder, if there's a mistake from XL where they step up too far, that's the avenue back in the game. Now, I'm not saying it's a good one or it's likely, especially with how XL have been playing, but it's not impossible. I think there is an opportunity. It's sort of at the low, like 5% level. And that's if XL make a mistake. So
I think 5% is generous.
Yeah, it's not a good omen. It's not a good spot to be in. And I do agree, looking towards the next game might be a thing. But what I have sort of not enjoyed this game is I'm waiting for this point where NVISION go, okay, now we fight. You know, I feel like in any game, you have to eventually pick a point where we go, this has gone on too long. Now we fight. And until that moment happens, I still think the game isn't technically over, but it's, as you said, definitely feels over. They need you to give one like final hurrah where they go for a team fight. If they lose, they lose. The game was pretty doomed anyway. But just give it something, give it an opportunity. And maybe this Elder Dragon spawn is that chance. They try and get a good fight there, smite away the Elder. Maybe that gives them momentum in a team fight to get a kill or two. But again, it's not looking good. It's just frustrating when you see a team just lose slowly. But I understand the thought process from NVISION. They're waiting for that window. They do have some elements which will come online later. It's just gold very much starved on their side of the map.
Yeah, I want to give some shout outs to Taxa as well. You talked about how he's improved as a jungler over the last few splits especially, and this split has been very good for him. 100% kill participation. He has driven every single engage that XL have had. He's been the proactive force in the picks that they've made with his ultimate. He's been the one that has driven every single neutral objective for them so far. Obviously Deadly has been involved in about 90% of the kills, but it has been Taxa with 100% kill participation here. Really has run Nulty round the rings in this game.
I think a big thing with Taxa is I was looking at the stats and he's the lowest CS per minute of the junglers remaining in this competition. Taxa, Nulty, Sybil, and Dan. He's the lowest CS per minute, but not just that, he's the lowest gold per minute. And when you think about the fact that XL have won every single game, typically the team who wins has more gold, and yet he's the lowest gold per minute. And that's because he plays a very sacrificial game. I mean, you look at this game now, Nulty's on 149 CS, Taxa's on 112. He's massively behind his counterpart despite the fact they've had all this pressure, and it's because Taxa heavily plays for his lanes. He plays to facilitate them, and it's not just around getting ganks. Like I said, this has been a pretty low kill game despite the fact he's had 100% kill participation. There was that skirmish bot lane, there was that sort of scuffle over Baron. Other than that, there hasn't been too much fighting, and it's just been the pressure Taxa applies. His presence being there denied a lot of waves from Shikari, gave plates over Descendo, applied that pressure. It's just him showing his face, knowing where to be on the map, and allowing his laners to play as aggressively as possible without getting punished by any recourse. Critically, when we saw that play that NVISION opted into in the bot lane that backfired and set this entire game in motion, that was NVISION who opted into that. But it could have been a very different story if Taxa wasn't there. If Taxa misread the situation, if he was farming at a camp, if he was somewhere else, that could have been NVISION getting the triple kill onto their AD carry, and suddenly this is a very different game. But Taxa reading the map is a critical aspect of why he's sort of been such a strong jungler this split, and I think he's been a big power point for XL.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you an update, guys. I believe someone disconnected from a voice comms on XL's side of things, and restarting the computer didn't fix it. So they are just trying to get that sorted for us before we can jump back into game. Obviously, it's very important they're all linked up in a crucial moment in the game where potentially things could go wrong for them. I don't think they will, but we just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
That's the way back in. You cut the comms, the communication's gone. That's how NVISION win. You just hear Deadly shouting, guys are engaging on me, and everyone else doesn't respond. But ultimately, yeah, bit of a wait. Can't really complain. I think it's frustrating, especially the timing, given how this game does feel like XL's super far ahead. So a lot of people will be watching and thinking, can't they just unpause and just end the game? But we'll wait, and hopefully they'll be able to sort the issues out. Obviously, this is a series, so 2 more games potentially to play, but at least a minimum of 1.
I'm just double checking. We are Just getting an update. I think they're moving everyone over to a new voice comm system so they can get ready and jump back into this game. Obviously, let's talk about. I think it's fair to have a look towards the next game. Obviously, Elder Dragon coming up in 15 seconds. Do you think that there is any way that before we go talk about potential next game adaptations, do you think there's any way that NVISION can contest the Elder Dragon? I mean, is it going to have to be a multi-steal attempt here to get them back in?
I think you steal it and then you see, can we take this fight with the Elder power? I think you have to take it because, to me, Elder's like the buff. It's so powerful. The 2 damage burns obviously a big factor, but the execute just means they were already strong. They're now just game ending, and I think it makes things extremely difficult. I think if they give that one up, they might as well just FF the game at that point. So I think you have to go for a contest. We talked about maybe they contest the Dragon Soul or not. Maybe they pass that one over with how far behind they were. I don't think they can afford to do that with the Elder Dragon. They need a final fight to come in. But if that fails, then yeah, it's looking towards the next game. I feel, in all honesty, NVISION came out moderately happy with where their draft is. One point I will highlight is the mid lane matchup. I mean, we've typically seen them put a lot of pressure on Adept, finding that huge strength in the early stages of the game. We're currently seeing a situation where he's been on a Victor. He has been looking to just farm more. And the fact that Special's also playing a scaling champion, but he impacts things earlier. He has that package, which is a huge tool for applying pressure. And also has the great spikes on the Triforce, and even 2-3 items, although they're not as big, 4-item spike, still pretty considerable, has meant Adept's kind of had a really quiet game. And you can see that in the scoreline. He's 0-0-0. Not really had much of a factor. And I believe we are actually flying back in a game, so we'll see this one able to pan out. Again, BTXL, Baron in their pocket, Elder in 10 seconds. They have Ocean Soul, 12k gold lead, and they're looking to break the space, which they've just done, 2 towers down. Try and find these inhibitors.
Deadly takes quite a lot of damage there. Combo between Nulti and Yusa. But I just don't know where they can even defend against both Special and Deadly pushing down these inhibitors. I mean, Sendo, he's so tanky. You're committing 3 guys to him, but he really doesn't care. He's such a tank right now in that top side of the map. Special and Kasing pushing on to these Nexus towers. I mean, XL don't even need the Elder Dragon. They're just looking for the win off the back of this push with the Baron. They should be able to take down that top lane inhibitor turret, and if you break all 3 inhibitors open, really feels like it's just a matter of time before XL can actually go in for the full out win here.
I think they're just looking to end off this with the Baron with minions.
I think they are. Special
final fight.
They have to, as the ultimate comes in from Sendo. The Showstopper pulls Nulti back here, but I mean, Deadly's just untouched. He's got a double cleanse to work with as well. There just really is nothing you can do against this guy. He is so fed. XL crush everybody on NVISION. They're going to take the first game of the series. Easy as you like. 1-0 XL.
Vision given no windows, and I think we waited so long for Vision's final fight, and I kind of went out with a whimper at the end of that. There wasn't really too much of a resistance, which, given the goal difference, given the amount of pressure XL had, it's not too much of a surprise, but it's a demoralizing loss to have 1 tower, 1 kill, 29-minute defeat coming out from for NVISION. And it's a really rough game to open a series with, because you're kind of going in this game 2 against a team who hasn't dropped a single game this series, and you're thinking, can we even beat them? Definitely a rough spot to be in, but it's all about bouncing back. It's resetting the mentality. It's been like game 1 doesn't matter at all. 1 game at a time.
Yeah, I think you just have to do a mental reset on this one. And I really want to analyze this in depth, but it just feels like that bot lane skirmish essentially lost the game.
I think we had a lot of time to analyze it in depth.
Yeah. I don't want to talk too much about it now because we had a lot of time to talk about this game. So look, let's get a mental reset going. Let's go to break, and we'll come back afterwards with our second game of the series.